Welcome to Oral Wealth Prosperity and Practice Podcast. Very excited to have Jeff Rice with us here today. We're going to have a great episode we're titling Know Your Worth, Why an Early Practice Valuation is Your Blueprint for Financial Success. So welcome, Jeff.
Thank you, Brian.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Very, very excited to be here. One of the main challenges I see a lot is that dental practices focus mostly on dental care. They take a lot of CE related to the care and practicing dentistry, but they don't really focus as much on the business side, and it's hard for them to look forward and see their future self.
Yeah. And
what that ends up happening is a lack of planning on the financial, the tax side, but also on one of their biggest assets, which is their practice.
That's right.
And that's what you specialize in. So I'm going to introduce Jeff. Jeff Rice is the transition sales consultant with Schein Dental Practice Solutions. He covers both North Carolina, South Carolina, and has 23 years of industry experience. So I'll start with that, but tell us a little bit more about what you do on a daily basis. What makes Jeff?
Yeah. Well, Brian, thank you for that. And not to age me even more, but it's my 25th year.
Oh, there we go. There we go.
It's okay. So let me start at the starting place.
Yeah.
So I spent over 2 decades in my previous role at Schein Dental, selling really, we call it cotton rolls to cone beams, right? Dental supplies, dental equipment, dental software, essentially everything dentists need. Schein's the biggest distribution company in the world at that. And so somewhere around 2010, 2008, 2010, a couple of things happened, and it caused me to shift my focus and eventually landed me here, which is YouTube became ubiquitous, and like Facebook groups that dentists joined and that sort of thing. So what had been a detailed job for me, where I detailed the specifics of the clinical aspects of the products and why this bonding agent was better than that and so forth, that was no longer helpful. They could get that anywhere online. So I had to look to, all right, well, how am I going to have value, real value, and not just be a commodity widget sales guy here? And what I found was that where dentists needed the most help was the business of dentistry. It just was.
Yeah.
And so I was an early adopter to what we called DPATs back in the day, dental practice analysis tool. And it became Schein Practice Analysis. But whether it was Dentrix or Eaglesoft or any practice management software, we ran reports that essentially gave a report card. Here's how the practice is doing. Here's where it's succeeding, hitting all the metrics. Here's where there's some opportunity for growth. So I wouldn't say this is where it's struggling or failing. I would say, here's your opportunity. So that if I could bring them enough revenue to cover their dental supply bill 2 or 3 times over and make it free.
Yeah.
How's that working for you?
Yeah.
And they would challenge me, and I was up to it. And so that's how I pivoted there during the last half of my career there. Then fast forward to 2019, North Carolina in particular, we were the last state to allow private equity and dental service organizations, DSO, into the state legally. And so there was a huge demand. And we're now the 9th biggest state in the country.
Yeah.
11 million people here.
Yeah.
And so,
but we still have a low percentage of DSOs and private equity.
The lowest.
Yeah.
Because we held out against that for so long, right? And for the longest time, to be a dentist here, you had to go through UNC Chapel Hill. Mm-hmm. That was it. And even getting licensed here from out of state was tough. I mean, it was notoriously tough. That's changed now with ECU and now High Point. But nonetheless, I saw the market changing and where the next decade of dentistry, what was it going to look like?
Yeah.
So dentists I had kind of grown up in my career with, I was watching who was selling and who they were selling to and how that was changing. And so making this move made sense for me.
Yeah.
And I love it over here.
Yeah. I mean, as you know, I lived that, right?
Yeah.
I've lived that experience of growing up with my dad as a dentist, and you just show up, you hang your shingle.
That's right.
And patients show up.
Yeah.
You really could have a successful business without doing much business. Right?
You almost had to try to fail.
Yeah.
I mean, I shouldn't say that.
Yeah.
Out loud, but dentistry was a solid, and still is a solid business here. Yet having said that, the flip side of hang a shingle and they will come you can't sharpen a knife with a sponge. When
Yeah.
it's that easy, you don't have to do the hard work of figuring out how to run the business
Yeah.
once it gets a little tighter,
Yeah.
right? And the market changes. So the need is there, still is there.
Yeah.
And part of the biggest value add that I bring is being able to be an advocate for selling dentists, and not just at time of sale, but backing up a few years.
Yeah.
All right, when do you want to do this, and where are you now, and how are we going to get this in shape to get it ready for the market?
Right. And ideally, that's kind of what we're here to talk about today is we want to advocate that dentists start planning earlier rather than later. And sometimes that's hard, right?
Oftentimes.
For my dad's example, he waited, like my sister was working in the practice with the hopes to buy it.
Yeah.
And he wasn't ready yet. Like he hadn't done the planning to be ready.
Yeah.
So, it worked out great for her, but she found another practice. And then my dad had eventually sold to a great dentist who was doing a great job. But I think he looks back and there's a missed opportunity there.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
And I will say this just on a human level, because there's the business, and then but you and I are going to have a conversation today, like real talk, keeping it 100, as the kids say.
Yeah.
And so it's always guys. I mean, there's exceptions to every rule, but it's almost always men that hold on too long.
Yeah.
Because outside of being a dentist and running the business, their identity is what they do.
Yeah.
So many of us are guilty of that, as men especially. My vocation is who I am.
Yep.
And so they haven't come to terms with what's next in their life.
Yep.
Their wife or their peer dentists that are females typically have a better social connection, a social life. They lean into their role in the family, the community, their church, whatever. And oftentimes with men, it's like, I am a dentist, and after that, I don't know who I am. So that part, that's the biggest thing that has to happen for them is all right, I have to start saying this out loud.
Yeah.
What's my plan?
Yeah.
Because if you don't have a plan, if you don't have a financial planner, if you don't have somebody that helps keep you accountable, you'll hold on to a handpiece until you're, way, way past when you should have.
And that's how financial planning is, I think, evolving. Is it's going beyond just the money. Is like is helping people imagine themselves in that next step.
Right.
Like, what hobbies you're going to do? Like, what is going to keep you engaged in life? Because you also hear that as like, once they stop working, their health goes down because they don't have that plan to keep active, to keep engaged. Yeah. And to find that purpose.
You got to have purpose in your life.
And that's why we use, like in our process, we identify your values, and then we help you use money to live your ideal life or find that purpose.
That's right.
To live your purpose.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's how it's evolving. It's, it's becoming more, behavioral economics, right? Like behavioral finance rather than just the numbers, right?
Right.
The numbers, I think, are commoditized, right? The products, the tools are easily accessible for most people, but it's that behavioral connection or coaching that really makes the difference. And
oftentimes the most successful dentists I work with, Brian, throughout their career are the most curious and therefore the most coachable, because there's strength in their humility. Yeah. Right. It's the ones that don't need any help. I say that in air quotes, that struggle the most. So the ones that have true humility, that looks like power to me. Yeah. That looks like, hey, listen, if I'm the smartest guy in the room, I might be in the wrong room. Yeah. Or I want to surround myself with people that know things I don't know. Yeah. That kind of curiosity, those are the ones that develop a good exit strategy. Yeah. And because they look around and they say, who can help me get there?
Yeah. And who can help me live the ideal life, right? Those are the people that have a practice that they're not serving the practice is serving them in their ideal life.
Right. There you go.
But, I'm actually, just a quick plug for myself, but I'm actually in the process of, there's this new designation called behavioral financial advisor.
Okay.
So I'm in the process of taking that exam here shortly to do that designation. Yeah. So I can really help people identify these,
right.
Their main theme is like plan for the certainty of uncertainty. Right. That's the only thing certain in life that everything's uncertain.
Listen, I have this conversation. I had it yesterday I'm in various stages of the process with dentists throughout both Carolinas.
Yeah.
Whether it's in their PVAL, practice valuation stage, listing, actively, in LOI and APA and so forth. And I was talking to a dentist yesterday. We're on the front end of the process, and I told her, "Look, we don't even know what it is yet, but something's going to come up during this process that we couldn't have predicted.
Mm-hmm.
Just know that it's going to happen, and know that we're going to be okay. We'll deal with it.
Yeah,
and it's just part of the process is uncertainty.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, and
we'll
then,
work through it.
Yeah, and it's always so stressful because this is their asset.
Well, the uncertainty is where the stress comes from.
Yeah.
So the more planning we have, the less stress.
Yeah, and the more you can coach clients that things will happen, right?
Yeah.
Like stuff's going to come up.
Yeah.
It's not going to be nice in the moment, but I've seen this before.
That's right.
Let's get it through. So one of the things we wanted to focus on is like, why plan early? We mentioned a few things, like, why do so many dentists postpone the discussion until it's time? And what's the financial risk of procrastination? How early and should people plan, and what's the benefits?
So the easiest answer to that, I oftentimes talk about a 5-year plan.
Yeah.
Right. So if you're anywhere in your 50s, certainly mid 50s in the traditional sense, and I'll talk in a minute about how that's not traditional anymore, switching. Certainly by your mid 50s, you definitely need to have a plan for what does my practice transition look like. And the reason we call it transition, by the way, it used to be a pretty definitive, like your dad's example, get out of dental school, hang your shingle, practice for 35 years, sell it,
move on. Yeah.
It's not fully like that now. You can sell it in whole or in part.
Yep.
And that can look a lot of different ways. The reason 5 years, well, it may take that long. It may not. But the point is you need to know the value of your practice to use the most basic, measurement. Most every dentist knows the value of their home. They probably even know the value of their car. Yeah. A couple of clicks.
Yeah.
You can't do that with a dental practice.
Yeah.
It's just not a back of the napkin thing. You just can't do it. So once you know the value, you then begin to know, okay, this is where I sit in the market. This is what that would look like if I had to sell it now. Is it where it needs to be? Because every one of those valuations, I don't care who you are, they're going to have green, yellow, and red flags.
Yep. This
is where we're good. This is where maybe need to look at this. This is definitely needs to be fixed. Some of those things are fixable in a matter of 6 months to a year. Some things just are not. One example might be that there's a little bit of an irony to this, but some of the most valuable practices are in small towns or more rural areas for a couple of reasons that are very practical, which would be typically the patients and the employees are most loyal to that practice. It's a small town. It's a stable job. This is the doc in town. This is where we go. Yeah. So you oftentimes don't even have to be in network with anybody. You can be a true fee-for-service practice. But when you go to sell it, no matter how valuable it is for all those reasons, and the numbers look good, there's really 5 places in North Carolina all dentists want to be coming out of school. Yeah. West to east is Asheville, Charlotte, Triad, Triangle, Wilmington. Yep. That's it. So there's 5 like deep blue dots of population, so to speak. And then there's exactly 100 counties. Yeah. Some of which still have no dentists whatsoever in North Carolina. So anyway, it may take several years to recruit the right dentist. Yeah. You can't do that in 6 months. Yeah. So knowing the health of your practice, where the green flags and red flags are, knowing how long it's probably going to take to find the right buyer. So you need to know years in advance, not months in advance. Yeah. Yeah. And especially if you have a complex practice structure. Yeah. Right. Like, we talked about this a little yesterday, is when we were prepping for this, is like sometimes the traditional, I'm going to find an associate or another dentist to buy my practice outright. Sometimes that practice, most associates, if you're doing a lot of complex work or you're generating a lot of revenue, or you have other associates, can be a hard practice to sell because you have trouble finding the right associate. For sure. So I'll give you an example up in the Triangle. So I'm going to try to I'll be general in my descriptions today because I cover both Carolinas, and just for anonymity, obviously I'll protect these parties. However, this was December of last year. So I sold a practice up there. It was all cash, but it could have went to the associate that was the doctor provider in that practice. Yeah. Here's what happens a lot of times, O'Brien. That practice was purchased doing about $750 a year in revenue. Within less than 2 years, they were collecting a little over 1.5.
Yeah.
And it was just, the trajectory was strong, and all the systems were in place by the dentist that bought it that knew how to do that. A dentist I worked with for many years. So he took it from where it was when he bought it to where it was when it was sold. The associate that helped that happen said, I'm not going to pay the premium for this.
Yeah.
They didn't know the value when it started and then what they added to it. And so an outside buyer came in to buy it. But just know that even when you do find the right associate, if you don't have an agreement up front about what the value of the practice is today, so that they can then measure what it is at whenever that end time is that you want to sell to them, there's a lot of either distrust or lack of, clarity in the numbers. And
so it's like I built all that, like that's half that's my revenue, right? Like I'm not going to pay for it.
This thing, and now I'm going to pay the price for it. Anyway, so as an owner doc, they would want to have a valuation at that time too.
Yeah.
So there's clarity with their associate.
Yeah. And how often do you work with associate buy-ins? Because it feels like that's happening more as practices get multiple associate practices.
Yeah.
Some, multiple partners.
Mm-hmm.
How often are you involved in kind of the partnership buy-in?
There's a couple things to think about with that. Yeah. So if there's multiple associates within one practice, the likelihood of any one of them being able to take that on is pretty low.
Yeah.
I'll give you a number that's a threshold, like $3 million. Anything under about $3 million in total value, I handle that.
Okay.
All right. Anything over that will go to a larger brokerage. The full disclosure, Henry Schein's company is LPS, large practice sales.
Yeah.
So let's say 3 million up to 100 million. They do huge. That's a different animal.
Yeah.
What typically happens with associates is they want the autonomy and the one roof sort of idea of, this is my practice. I want to create the vision I have for myself. And that typically works pretty well because banks will loan oftentimes up to 100% of the value. Why? Because dentistry nationwide has about a less than 1% failure rate.
Yeah.
And on average, about a 35% profit margin. It's a good business.
Yeah.
Right. In that multi-associate under one roof aspect, though, Brian, that typically is going to need to go to a larger buyer.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's a lot of complexity in keeping the associates on. We can get into things like ghost shares and retention policies and so forth that give them equity without having to buy if they'll stay.
Yeah.
Because the one thing to point out the obvious here, DSOs or dental service organizations are everything but the dentist.
Yep.
They need to hire a dentist. And I know I'm going down a rabbit hole, and you can stop me if you have to, but that's one of the reasons they use the term called EBITDA.
Yeah. Which
essentially, that's an art, not a science, but it's an accounting metric that really means what's left over after you pay the dentist. How much profitability is in this business after I pay the dentist?
Yeah. Because that's the number they care about.
That's the number they care about, right? So all the rest of the math behind EBITDA, don't get too hung up on it.
Yeah.
It's just, does this business cash flow after the dentist is paid?
Yeah.
Right. So having said that, associates, 3 years is the rule typically, just so you know.
Yeah.
Somewhere around 3 years out from either residency or dental school, they have enough confidence, like clinically, to go, all right, I think I got this.
Yeah. So you don't see a lot of multiple partner practices where they constantly roll in like a younger associate that ends up buying out one of the older partners. That's not really.
Yeah, it can, but that's a really complex thing.
Yeah.
And now you're talking about shares of a practice rather than
a whole practice.
And there's trade-offs. Listen, there are.
Yeah, you have to find the right partners.
Yeah, and listen, I mean this. That is a business marriage.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah.
So it contractually, legally, you're obligated, just like you are legally in a marriage. And so when those break up, and I've seen that, it's like a divorce.
Yeah.
And they're tough.
Yeah, it's tough.
And so you're never going to have full autonomy, but you're going to have some relief and some in a partner that can fill in for you and things like that.
Yeah. So obviously the question was why we plan early. So 5-year plan, and if you're proactive, maybe 10. Like start even earlier, right? Yeah. We'll talk about this a little later, but the letter of instruction can be day one, right?
As an owner?
Yeah, as an owner.
Day one.
So we'll talk a little bit more about the letter of instruction.
That's the other LOI, by
the way. The other other LOI.
Yeah.
The LOI that most people know is the letter of intent, which is
an offer.
A formal offer to buy a practice. So it's the other LOI. So we mentioned this a little bit, but like what goes into a practice valuation? Like it's not just the back of the napkin. Like for financial planning purposes, we can guesstimate, right? Because it's a moving needle anyway. As soon as we put the number in, it changes.
Yeah.
But like what goes into a practice valuation and why is it important to get like a formal one?
No, that's a good question. So full transparency is rule number one.
Yeah.
If you're going to buy this business, you have to know how the sausage gets made, so to speak, right? So you have to look at 3 years. We do a 3-year look back and year to date. All right. So 3 years of tax returns and year to date, 3 years of profit and loss statement and year to date. We look at what's called a financial questionnaire. And what that does is it helps us find what the current owner is running through the business that a new owner likely will not. And that would be an add back.
Yeah, add backs
for revenue and profit to the new owner. We look at employee census, which is really important. Goodwill is 80% of what a dentist is buying when they buy a dental practice. It's made of two things. Goodwill is patients of record and employees of record. That's really your business. And so an employee census, who works here? How long have they been here? What's their title? What's their pay package? What do I need to inherit and keep? Because having them, a humbling reality is the dentist can leave. Their name was on the sign out front for a long time. A new dentist comes in with the right goodwill transfer. As long as the team stays in place, the patients by and large.
Yeah.
We also run what's called a production by provider code report. That's about transferability of the practice. In other words, how much of the dentistry on day one can the new owner do that the previous owner did? And that can go both ways. It could be that the new owner, and oftentimes this is true with a younger doc coming into an older doc, that the newer doc is willing and able to do more things that the older doc either once did and now refers out or never did.
Yeah.
Whether it's posterior endo or whether it's, ortho in its newest versions, extractions with bone grafting and some straightforward implants because they have a cone beam and they want to do some of those. So that's another couple $100,000 in revenue right there. Now, on the flip side, if you're a super GP and you do a lot of those things now, the irony is that your practice is going to be valuable in dollars because of that. It also means that our buying pool is smaller. Doesn't mean they're not out there.
Yeah.
It just means that the pool of buyers that can walk in on day one and do clinically what you do is smaller. So that you're going to have to, there's another reason, you're going to have to plan longer to find the right buyer.
Yeah.
Because they're out there, but you're not going to find them overnight.
Yeah. That's, those are usually those are usually higher valuations. And
they are. Yeah. And so here's another thing that's kind of ironic. A lot of docs will say this, and this is a huge mistake doctors make, is as their career goes on and Father Time's undefeated. So people get tired.
Yeah.
Right. And so they go from 4 days down to 3.5, down to 3. Once you get below that, let's call it $600,000 annual revenue threshold, it's really tough to sell your practice.
Yeah.
You're getting into chart sale territory.
Yeah. And it's not, the cash flow isn't there.
That's why.
Yeah.
And here's why. They think, well, a young doc can come in and buy this for a discount and build it up and they're going to be happy. No, they're not going to buy it because there's not enough income in there for them.
Yep.
There's just too much work to be done to get it back to where it needs to be, no matter the discount. Yeah. So ironically, most dentists are looking for practice that do $800,000 to 1.2. Mm-hmm. So let's just say the floor is 750 in revenue. We don't care about production. Production is just numbers. Revenue is what you collect. 750 in revenue up to about 1.2. That's the sweet spot for private practice. Multi-doctors up to 3 million, like I said. But that's what most buyers are looking for.
Yeah. Yeah. And I've seen it a lot. Dentist doesn't have a plan.
Yeah.
Dentist slows down. Just because like you said, Father Time is undefeated.
Yeah.
And doesn't realize that they're going to reduce, maybe not even be able to sell their practice.
That's
they're
right.
It'll sell their charts.
Sale.
Yeah.
So we'll explain that real quick. So a chart sale is there are no assets because I said earlier 80% of the value is goodwill. The other 20%, roughly, give or take 5 points either way, but assets, tangible assets, your chairs, lights, x-rays, compressor, vacuum, furniture, computers, all that. That's about 20% of the value. 80% is goodwill. Mm-hmm. So in chart sales, there are no assets to buy. the employees don't come over in goodwill typically. It's just buying patient charts. So now you're talking about pennies on the dollar as opposed to $1 on the dollar.
Yeah.
So the value is dramatically decreased.
Yeah. And most of that for these situations, even if they do a full sale, most of that equipment is going to be replaced anyway by the new dentist, right? Ideally.
Well, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
So
older.
they're going to use that and they're going to leverage that
Yeah.
on their side. That's the other thing, leverage. If we're talking real and keeping it 100, leverage is important in these things. If you're going out on your terms as a dentist, you have leverage because you have power, because you're going out on top. I use this analogy all the time. I'm a North Carolina guy.
Yeah.
Like Michael Jordan's a GOAT. I don't care what anybody says, but don't be Michael Jordan in a Washington Wizards uniform. Don't do that.
Yeah.
Go out after 6 championships on your terms, right? Because once you've tipped over into now you're tired, now the practice is diminishing, now you're overpaying your staff to keep them and undercharging your patients because you're afraid of fees. The practice is going in all the wrong directions.
Yeah.
And the buyer has all the leverage.
Yeah.
And to be clear, I represent sellers. I counsel and talk with and coach buyers all the time. But in legal terms, the seller is my client, the buyer is my customer.
Yep.
So my fiduciary responsibility is to the seller. So I'm saying, hey, listen, I want this to go your way. That's why we need a few years to plan to get this done. Don't wait until you have no leverage and you don't want to do the work it takes to get it where it needs to go.
Yeah. I mean, that's a good segue to the next question is if you're a dentist listening to this and you're in your 50s or you've started thinking about what the practice is like, what are some tips that you usually recommend to increase the value to have an ideal sale?
Right. Well, first of all, and I hate to be a broken record, but start with evaluation and know where you are, because you can't build a roadmap if you don't know where you're going.
Yeah.
So start there. And then once you realize where the soft spots or the red flags in the practice are, you can begin to hone in on those. Having clean financials is really key, because that 3-year look back I'm talking about, keep in mind that no 1 year makes or breaks a dental practice, because you could have a fantastic year that overrepresents what it really is, or a terrible year that doesn't look at all like what your practice looks like. So know that you need clean financials that go back at least 3 years, knowing that the most recent year is the most heavily weighted. When it comes to equipment and technology in your practice, this is going to sound kind of counterintuitive too. If you're 2 years or less outside of selling your practice, our recommendation, unless it's necessary, unless your equipment's broken and needs to be replaced, don't put brand new stuff in there, because first of all, you're not going to get the full value bang for your buck back from it, from a production standpoint or a tax standpoint and so forth. And you're not going to get all the money back that you invested in it necessarily. And the new buyer very often has a different sort of platform idea. Just if we're talking about true
how they do dentistry,
right? Their delivery model is different. The brand they affiliate with or know is different. So they want to change that out anyway. But yeah, it really, your financials, you start there to know that that's clean. We can clean up a lot if that is clean and on track.
Yeah.
Having a team that's stable means everything. Like the biggest challenge coming out of COVID, which is 5+ years ago.
Yeah.
But
Seems like
some things
yesterday,
it does in some ways. But one of the things that never really went back to normal or pre-COVID is the labor force.
Yeah.
Right. So having a stable team in place helps a lot, because remember that goodwill. So if you're trying to sell your practice and there's a lot of instability in there, you may want to have a team in place for a year that's solid, that you can transfer and feel good, that your systems are working. The people that are in here know how to run this place. We've got this dialed in.
Yeah.
Those are a couple things.
Yeah. And ideally, right. And ideally the dentist, if planning early, can decide to maybe instead of slowing down, like what traditionally happens,
step on the gas, don't step on the brakes.
Step on the gas, knowing that there's a light at the end of the tunnel. Put that extra work in to grow the valuation, do the things, do more procedures, see as much. It's kind of like, my buddy, we're just talking about this. He's 20 years in NYPD in New York. So he's doing all the overtime.
Yeah.
He's like sandbagging that pension, right? Sandbag your practice. Like if you plan ahead, you can see the vision of I can do this little extra work to get that practice to where it's an ideal sale in that 850. Let's say you're close.
Yeah.
Like let's say you're 700.
Yeah.
Like let's get that to the 800 million level. So you're an ideal buy.
And just to dial it in a little bit, and in general dentistry specifically, the hygiene department means a lot because hygiene is the lifeblood of the practice, good, bad, or otherwise. Meaning, if they're not coming there to get their teeth cleaned, they're just showing up when something's broken. Now you've got an emergency dental practice. You're just doing a lot of endo and extractions. And that's fine, but a general practice is not an emergency practice. No. So the lifeblood is hygiene. Because again, like I said, operative, listen, I've looked at hundreds of practice analysis over the years and now P&Ls. The same 25 codes are generally the top 25 in most general dental practices. And really, page 1, there's 2 pages in that. It's 1, 2, and 3 surface fillings. It's bite wings. It's pan. It's a crown, like 2740. It's the 1110. It's the 120. There's certain codes you see over and over and over. And so having a healthy hygiene department, it makes the transferability so much better. So I would say focus there.
Yeah.
Keep your hygiene really healthy and that schedule strong. And that's where the dentist is going to get most of their work anyway.
Yeah. I mean, that's where they find
that's
the
where
issues.
they find their operative.
Yeah. So if you're looking at your patient's record and, let's say half of them aren't on a regular 6-month, focus on grinding that out.
Growing your hygiene.
Yeah. Get them on the recall.
Recare programs. Yeah.
Next question is essential documentation and pitfalls. So what are the must-have documents the doctor should start gathering for initial consultation? Talked about this. What are some common add backs? And this could be even more is, this is the next question. So we talked a little bit about it, but let's go in a little bit more detail about those essential documents that a doctor needs to have and understand to get started in the process.
Yeah. So just as often as dentists, I talk to accountants.
Yeah.
Because there are some reports that need to run through the dentist software, like the production by provider code and some other reports that are dental specific that they'll need to run. And one of the challenges we have there, and dentists need to come to terms with this, is because of the nature of this, oftentimes it's confidential. The dentist doesn't even want their team to know because they don't want to set off alarms. They just want to know the value of the practice.
And they don't know how to run those reports.
They do not know how to run the reports. And so we will oftentimes use a product called Jarvis. I guess that's a plug, but that's what we use. It's a data collection product that goes into any of the major softwares, pulls those reports for them.
Yeah.
And
so all they need to do is give you the login. Like they at least know how to log in.
The approval to do Jarvis. They're there on site when Jarvis goes in, but Jarvis pulls all the essential data that we need. If they are not comfortable with getting all of the financials, I will oftentimes have them connect me directly to their accountant to have those conversations about the add backs and about the financial questionnaire, about their tax returns, and what does not only their P&L, but sometimes a TTL, trailing 12 months. What does that look like? Because again, of those 3 years, the most recent year is the most heavily weighted. Where is it trending? What does that look like? There's a lot of comparison between the tax return and the P&L. They're never going to be exactly the same. Yeah. But we have to be fully transparent about those differences and see where they are.
Yeah, because the tax return you report to the government.
That's right.
That's usually the source.
That's right.
So if there's a mismatch, one doesn't seem right.
We have to have clarity.
Yeah.
Full clarity.
And that's why you have, other shameless
That's why I said a minute ago, clean financials.
Yeah, clean financials. That's why you need to have a good CPA.
As much as you're trying to add into the business that's kind of just tucked in there, that gets untucked. Yeah. Because now we're going to have to show it as an add back because this practice is actually more profitable than it shows.
Yeah. And there's a lot of those. Like, what are some typical add backs?
Well, you might run a vehicle through the business, which is very typical that a new owner may not. I see this a lot where family members work for the practice, whether they do or not. Yep. And they may have 3 kids that are employed there at the practice. And,
add that back.
Yeah. There are sometimes some annual, otherwise non-recurring one-time expenses. Like they may do a lot of CE for the team every year. Yeah. They travel to the greater New York and Manhattan, or they go to Atlanta to the Hinman. And that's $30,000 to take their team and do a whole big thing or whatever with their whole CE and their whole trip or whatever. So there can be some fairly significant, add backs that we see a lot that the new dentist may or may not do. Yeah. And it can, here and there. And next thing you know, it adds another $80,000 in profit to the practice that currently is being run through by the But health insurance for the current owner may go through the practice. That may not be true with the new owner. So there's lots of bad.
There's a lot of bad. And I see it a lot mainly because we do a lot of tax planning.
Yeah.
It's like pay your, have your kids do like a job. We're not telling them to, but document that this is the job they're doing and pay your kids.
Yeah.
And then contribute to a Roth. So it's part of tax planning. And then
I'll tell you another one real quick, ADD moment. Sorry.
Yeah.
Is because I see this a lot, is you need to right size your lease payment.
Right.
Because a lot of dentists in North Carolina in particular, and to be clear, I cover both Carolinas.
Yeah.
Much love to my South Carolina people. But in both Carolinas, North and South Carolina, dentists oftentimes own real estate and more than they do in other parts of the country. I found that.
It's a great tax benefit.
Bingo.
Yeah.
But they pay themselves a lease that is above fair market value. That's definitely an add back.
Yeah.
Right. It's not uncommon to pay 150%. Sometimes I see closer to 200% because it's an income stream for them.
Yeah.
And they
get to write it off at their
income and right.
So it's passive income.
That's a big one.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a big one. The other one I see often is personal expenses like meals, or they have a lot of vacation that they classify as board meetings.
Yes. Right.
Right. So you have, your husband's on your board of advisors and you go on vacation and have a board meeting.
Yeah.
Which is completely legitimate from a tax perspective.
That is legit. There's no doubt.
You got to document it, but it's an add back.
It's an add back.
So that's all, like good stuff for dentists to know as they start planning. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about the emergency exit.
Yeah. The other LOI.
Yeah. So how can you protect yourself? Like you could be healthy one day and then not healthy. You've seen it multiple times. We talked about it the other day. You named half a dozen in the last year. So talk about how you get a dentist prepared for the certainty of uncertainty.
That's right.
The emergency exit.
The stress, again, oftentimes comes from stress in our life in general, comes from uncertainty, the not knowing, the fear of the unknown.
Yeah.
Right. So the more you plan for and make it known what your plan is, the less stress there is around it, the better you sleep at night, literally. So letter of instruction, the other LOI, is just that. It's a document I'm happy to share with anybody on this podcast that reaches out to me afterwards. It's a thing we have proprietary at Henry Schein Dental Practice Transitions, but every planner like you needs this for their clients. Yeah. And so if you're an owner of a dental practice and you don't have a letter of instruction, it's a disservice to your loved ones, to those that you would leave behind, or those that are there with you, but you're unable to practice due to a physical injury or whatever. I shared with you, and this is in central northern North Carolina, and I sold this practice in June of this year. The original owner of the practice died unexpectedly at 57. Yeah. In 2021,
which is young.
Yeah. Listen, I'm 56.
Yeah,
so I'm knocking on the door there. So his spouse had, and this is a beautiful building, standalone building, nice, healthy, robust practice. Within 90 days, if your practice doesn't sell, it's very unlikely to sell. Most practices do not sell if they don't sell in 90 days. And even if they sell closer to the 90-day mark, the value is greatly diminished. Anyway, through grief and the fog of grief, and just trying to come to terms with what's happened and not knowing the business. The spouse oftentimes just really doesn't know what to do, frankly. And so this business drifted away. The patients left because the employees left because they had to have a job. Yeah. And local docs can only fill in for so long. So my seller bought it in early 2022. And so for 3 years, they bought assets. There was no practice to buy. Yeah. So they just bought the equipment. So that's penny on the dollar too. And some of the team came back, as did some of the patients, but new team, new patients too. Grew it, got it right back to being a really healthy practice. And we sold it in June of last year. However, the widow of the doctor that died should have benefited from that full practice sale. Had there been a letter of instruction in place that says, this is what happens when, a heart attack happens or a car accident or all the things that cause people to die.
Yeah. Death, disability, loss of license. That's right. Divorce.
Right.
I mean,
there's a lot of things that
all
can
the
lead
D's.
To that. Yeah. So that is human nature is that's not going to happen to me. until it does.
Yep.
And if you've been in this business for even a minute, it's happened to you or your peers know somebody who woke up dead one day, right? And there was no plan in place.
Yeah.
So,
and I mean, I kind of think of this like we push, and I agree with you. Like, I need to make sure the same way I push having your personal estate plan, your wills, your power of attorney, your medical directive, possibly trusts. Like, that's a must have for all my clients. Like, for all my owners, I think this is the estate plan for your practice.
That's right.
If this is your biggest asset, this is actually should be the main focus.
100%.
When you do this estate planning, is don't forget to plan for the practice. Give us an example of kind of what that letter of instruction looks like.
Yeah.
How do you kind of structure the team to keep that value together?
Yeah. So you'll see on there, the very first thing, the information for the owner doctor, and then their estate, which is usually their spouse or their significant other, is listed. That's who's going to be contacted first. And then from there, it goes to who do we have our personal and practice insurance with? Who is our attorney personally and for the practice? Who is the practice broker that we know in this area? Why is that important? Well, the obvious, we know who the buyers are, and we know how to position your practice for sale quickly so that you don't have to try to figure that out in the cacophony of all of this that's going on. There are places for actually codes to your joint accounts. There is, without malice of any sort, spouses that love and support each other for decades will have accounts they haven't necessarily shared because they don't think to do it. The passwords to their accounts, if something happens, how do I get into this thing? I've had spouses of dentists tell me years, sometimes after their spouse has either passed or is no longer available, that they can't get into some of their joint codes that they need to be hacked into. And so anyway, that full transparency needs to be there for the estate for your spouse, so that everything from your lockbox at the bank to your codes, on dentric stuff. Why is that important? Because you're going to have to transfer the licensure. You need to even know who your local Henry Schein rep is, if you use Schein or whoever you use. Why? Because they can help maneuver some of the stuff on the ground in the practice that keeps it moving forward, because they know the practice. They know their supply needs. They know the team. They know how to keep some continuity in there.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're going to need as much of that as you can have.
Yeah. So leverage. Yeah. Like you need to leverage your team. We talked about this. Like you need, like, the best dentists have a team around you.
Yeah.
And then the people that are
you even
taking
need what
over.
I call ride or dies. Like, meaning who are friends of this dentist in the community that could fill in a pinch.
Yeah.
Where you have each other's back. Hey, look, if things go sideways and I need you to cover here for a while, can I count on you?
Yeah.
You need to have those names.
Yeah.
Like, again,
you probably need a multiple, right? Because they probably have their own.
You need 3.
Yeah.
Because they're going to have their own thing to do. And they can commit one day a week, or, you have to have a plan. And so imagine trying to do all that without having any of that in place. So,
and the tragedy and the grief.
Oh, all of it. Yeah.
Yeah. That's important. Like you mentioned the passwords. I think that's overlooked a lot. We call that the digital wheel.
Yeah.
Like you have your paper, but you need to have a digital wheel, and there's your financial advisor can help with that. There's some third-party resources, like password keepers.
Yeah.
Like as simple as that. Just have a password keeper that saves everything, and share it with your, the trusted contact.
Mm-hmm.
But you should have a digital will for your practice and a digital will for your personal life.
Right.
But this is all, I think this is very valuable resources.
Mm-hmm.
As we kind of move to wrap this up, I wanted to
talk about this all day.
Yeah.
We would probably need to do a part 2 on this thing.
I think we do. I think we missed a lot of good stories.
Yeah.
And maybe we'll just have story time with Jeff next time as part 2.
There's a lot of those. Yeah.
But this is a new thing I want to incorporate. I want to have kind of a standard set of questions to ask every guest.
Yeah.
And when it's solo episode, do a standard takeaways, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, I've like, this is a great conversation. We talked about a lot about like the underscoring thing is like dental well-being, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like we want to have these plans in place. We want you to have the vision so you can relax and know things are going to, work, at least you have a plan to where stuff's going to happen, but,
Right.
You want to have that plan in place and let you live that ideal life. Try to create, you never get that like perfectly ideal life, but you want to work towards it. So these questions are kind of focused on that. So, our mission is to help dental and healthcare professionals, and specifically me, use their money to create an ideal life.
Yeah.
So beyond the next 6 months, what's one major non-financial goal you're currently working towards to create your ideal life?
It's that's a good question.
Yeah.
Non-financial goal. The whole reason I got into this, Brian, like you've probably heard this before, but like, what's your why?
Yeah. What's your why?
Your WHY, right? Obviously, I do this to make a living. But where I get my purpose, we started our conversation about that, is helping people, and that sounds overly simplistic, but the more I am in this business, and the more I get to see the results of what my participation in the process was, the more it gives me great satisfaction personally to help people get to where they're trying to go with their goal. And that's both parties, by the way. I want happy buyers.
Yeah.
Sometimes I will diplomatically pass on listing opportunities if I don't believe I can believe in or help the practice get where it needs to be, or maybe it's the person.
Yeah.
But when I believe in that person, and I believe in their practice and their business, and I know the value that it has, and it's going to be a wonderful asset to the buyer for years to come, it gives me great personal satisfaction. So over the next 6 months, and really next 6 years, I'm going to lean into more and more of that. Honestly, almost to my own detriment. I don't necessarily count up front where the dollars. I was like that in my previous role. Anybody knows me will tell you that. I just want to do good work and take care of folks and add value to their business.
The money will come.
And to them, the money will come. It always finds me.
Yeah.
The money has always found me. But if I do the work first and take care of people, folks know that.
Yeah.
They can see the difference on.
Especially if you're giving up, maybe a big win because you don't like that, because honestly you don't think that's the right thing for them.
And listen, my fiduciary, I'll give you one more quick example of that. My fiduciary responsibility is to do what's right for the seller, not for myself. And very often the highest bid, you'd be surprised, does not win.
Yep.
It's the fair market value bid, the good bid, the good to great bid that also has the philosophical right fit for that doctor, as opposed to simply the biggest dollar amount that they're like, I just don't want to turn my practice over to this. And one last thing I would say then, as we're wrapping it up, just to kind of put a pin in it, I would say this: if you're a buyer and a seller, this is what you need to move forward, because you're going to need people. Buyer, you need a banker or a lender that understands dentistry. By the way, this has to be professionals that understand dentistry. It's not enough to be a banker or an attorney or a CPA. You have to know dentistry. A buyer needs a good banker lender that can look out for that buyer by going, here's red flags, green flags, right? So they're going to advocate for you because they want to land on something that's going to succeed. They need a CPA that understands dentistry. They can look at the numbers with them unbiased, and they need an attorney. Yeah, because the sales side is going to have one. You need a dental specific attorney that looks at the contract and the last two pieces of the deal. On the flip side, the seller, you need a broker. Yeah. You need somebody that understands the market, who the buyers are, who the sellers are, how to position your practice. Much of the work we do up front is the hardest part it's the valuation. Yeah. Huge part of it. So you need a good broker that you can trust that understands how to get your practice sold. You too need a good attorney, but you need a certified financial planner too that can say, am I ready? Am I not ready? Yeah. Oftentimes it's a CPA. Oftentimes it's a different person. Yeah. So obviously as an owner, you've had a CPA, but a CFP is really important for the selling dentist. Yeah. So it's just a little difference there about how to build your team.
Yeah. I mean, I think building the team's, very important. If for most dentists, they should realize that yes, all this costs money, but the value you would gain from building the right team way outweighs the cost of that team. Almost in every situation, if you have the right team.
Well,
right.
People need people.
Yeah. Yeah.
AI is not going to be able to do everything.
Nope.
So in certain aspects, you absolutely more than ever need people that understand the business. Yeah.
Just on, to piggyback on your question, I think that, that is where we should all be. Like as a financial planner and a partner in a tax and accounting firm, sometimes like people don't want to talk about money, right?
Yeah, makes them feel.
It makes them feel
They
uncomfortable.
get the ick.
And so I'm like, and I don't want to be a salesperson. So I'm like, okay, I'm not going to push heavy, but I should realize, like, and this is what I've come to terms with, over the years, is like, I am offering a life-changing experience.
Yeah.
Yes, money is hard. Yes, most people think a financial planner, but if I'm not out advocating that everybody should have it and pushing a little bit, like getting out of like that discomfort of sales.
You can't sharpen a knife with a sponge.
Yeah. So like I am doing really good with, if I actually can create a situation where people are working towards an ideal life, it's hard, but I should want to help every single person that's
it's what
willing
I call
to
the
help.
cone of safety. All my friends know this. They kind of laugh and roll their eyes a little bit. But if you're going to have a difficult, tricky, wicked conversation, ask this person to get in the cone of safety with you. There's only 2 rules. Number 1, we care enough to tell the truth in both directions. I can hear it just like I can say it. But rule number 2 is we can't get upset. Here's what I see and here's what I think needs to happen. This is specifically for your business, what I see that needs to happen to get you from where you are to where you want to be. They may or may not want to hear it, but they need to hear it. And everybody needs somebody like that in their life that cares enough to tell them the difficult truth. Because those are the people you need on your team. Otherwise, they're sycophants.
That
sycophants make failed companies.
And you kind of have blinders to your own, like,
for sure,
the red flags. Like, we all have those issues. Is somebody needs to point it out and see it from the outside. And we're like,
a new set of
now that
eyes
now that you say it, that's why did I do that way for so many years? So the next question is, obviously you're expert in dental transition. What's the one thing you're recommending most often to your clients, family, or friends right now? So it doesn't necessarily need to be dental transition related, but it could be anything. Like what are the one thing you're usually telling people to focus on right now?
In their business or in their
it could be whatever.
as
life or business, whatever. Whatever comes to mind.
Well, because of the market here, I would say that most often I talk to them about finding out what their overall work-life goal is, because the balance thing is a tricky compromise we try to make with ourselves.
There's no balance. It's kind of like
it's tough. Find out where your priorities are with your family, your work outside of your life outside of work, and where you really want to spend most of your time, knowing that there's no such thing as a wildly successful business that happens in a 40-hour week. It just doesn't. I wish it did. It doesn't. So if you want to grow and grow and grow, just know that you're going to have to be kind of married to that thing for a while and have a conversation with your family about what that commitment looks like. If you want peace as much as you can have it, autonomy, is control as much as you can in the business, then know that growth comes at a cost beyond one roof. I know this is a big answer, but a lot of times the most stressed dentists I deal with that are really not happy, even though they're doing all the things and growing, they have 3 or 4 or 5 roofs, right? And they think, I'm getting there. They're miserable. Because until you get to 7 to 10 locations, you don't have enough cash flow to hire somebody to run the thing for you. So that's a conversation I'm having a lot. Because that's on the sales side, they're a little more set in where they're trying to be in their life and knowing what they're trying to achieve, which is their next season and how I can help them get there. The younger one, the buy side, what's your goal? Because there's going to be a trade-off and all that growth and all the things, and you're full of, kerosene and gasoline and running through your veins and you're ready to go. All right. Just know that that's not going to be easy or not stressful. I can help you get there, but there's going to be a trade-off. And I try to keep it real with them.
As balanced as possible.
Because you won't be able to go back. Last thing I'll say, all the guys my age look at younger guys and ladies and say, whatever your ambition is, know that you will not get to go back and have your kids be little again. So just know what you want to achieve here.
And
what you're willing to sacrifice to get there.
And maybe, again, if you have that conversation, like specifically, I really enjoy my business because it gives me the flexibility to spend time with my kids and be productive. So I don't think of it as balance. I think about it as the freedom to do both, right? So like my work and life are like this. So sometimes I'm dad, sometimes I'm work. there's no set, dentistry is a little harder because it's like a 9 to 5.
It
right?
is.
That makes the importance of having those conversations even more important, like
That's
with
right.
your family and yourself.
Yeah.
The last question is, finally, for our listeners who are ready to take their understanding of finances to the next level, like what's your first resource that comes to mind that you would recommend? So either practice valuation or finance, like something in your world. What was the first thing you tell them to go read or listen to or understand? Like your ideal recommendation on a resource.
A book that changed my life. I didn't know that question was coming.
Yeah.
A book that changed my life.
I added these in last minute.
That's good. Good to
surprise.
great. I think Jim Collins.
Oh,
wrote
good to
that.
great. Yeah.
I love that book.
Yep.
And here's why. You're the CEO of your business. Even if it's a one doctor practice and you got 5 employees, you're the CEO. And so good to great studies for 3+ decades, which companies were good, which ones went on to be great. And many of the good ones failed to survive. It always came down to leadership.
Mm-hmm.
And whether you're a dentist in a solo practice or whether you're running a huge company with hundreds or thousands of employees, your leadership is going to be central to that. And I don't have time to go into why that book spells that out.
Yeah.
But that's one that I start with and recommend because you're the leader, like it or not. You're the visionary. You run this joint. And good to great leadership can be the difference in hubris and humility.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Remember when I was saying earlier, the most successful dentists I know are the ones that have curiosity and humility.
Yeah.
They have power.
And that's in that book, the humility was one of the defining factors in almost all those good to great leaders.
Because the ones that were me first and big, and I won't even say their names, I guess, because it feels like I'm knocking them down. But the names we all know that were the prototype of the CEO.
Yeah.
No. When they left, the company crashed. Almost by design. Like, see, I'm so awesome that the thing can't survive without me. Whereas if you're a true leader and your intention is to build and support and grow a team around you that survives past you, that's leadership.
Yeah. And that's what gets you the valuation, right? That gets you goodwill.
That's right.
So these are all great and powerful, actionable resources. So thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Brian.
On Oral Wealth, Prosperity and Practice.
Yeah.
If you want to reach out to Jeff to talk about like what's next.
You should put my introductory, when you do this, and just put my 25 introduction I'll put in there for who I am and what we do. Yeah.
I'm gonna have all that, a link to everything in the show notes. So Jeff's phone number, his email, and all the details. Jeff offered to do, a complimentary consultation.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want a copy of the letter of instruction. So just reach out to Jeff, valuable resource. But again, I want to thank you for tuning in to Oral Wealth, Prosperity and Practice. We hope you gained some valuable insights and enjoyed this conversation. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review our podcast wherever you're listening. You can also find us on YouTube and watch, see us in person. But join us next time. We're going to have more and more of these episodes about money and purpose and creating that ideal life. So stay tuned and enjoy.
Thank you, Brian.
Thank you.
I appreciate you, man.